Have you ever wondered whether the wealth of society is fairly distributed? If so, you may find the ideas of Marxism intriguing. This complex and influential ideology traces its roots back to the 19th century, born from the minds of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. These two thinkers developed Marxism as a potent critique of capitalism, challenging the system's social and economic structures. They questioned the fairness of a society where the fruits of labor are not evenly shared, and the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen. Their ideas, though controversial, have had a profound impact on the world, shaping political systems and sparking revolutions. But Marxism isn't just about economics or politics. It's also a lens through which we can view and interpret human history and social relationships. As we delve deeper into this topic, we will explore the key concepts and historical developments that have shaped Marxism. Let's journey back to the 1840s when Marx and Engels began developing their ideas. This period was a time of rapid industrialization and social change, and it was amidst this backdrop that the two philosophers began to formulate their critique of capitalism. Karl Marx, a young philosopher and journalist, and Friedrich Engels, a businessman and political activist, first met in 1844. They found common ground in their shared disdain for the social inequality they saw arising from industrial capitalism. Together, they began to explore the nature of class struggle and the dynamics of socio-economic change. In the early 1840s, Marx's writings focused heavily on philosophy and human nature. His economic and philosophic manuscripts of 1844 introduced the theory of alienation, a concept that explained how workers become estranged from their own labor under a capitalist system. He argued that this alienation not only impoverishes workers materially, but spiritually as well, robbing them of their human potential. Engels, on the other hand, provided a more practical perspective drawn from his experiences in his family's textile business. His book, The Condition of the Working Class in England, painted a grim picture of the plight of the industrial proletariat, providing empirical evidence that supported Marx's philosophical musings. Then, in 1848, Marx and Engels co-authored what would become their most famous work, the Communist Manifesto. This brief but potent treatise distilled their ideas into a call to arms for the working class. It declared that the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles, and it ended with the rallying cry, "Workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains." The manifesto was published just as revolutionary fervor was sweeping across Europe. While the revolutions of 1848 ultimately failed to bring about immediate change, they did serve to disseminate Marx and Engels' ideas more widely. The Communist Manifesto was a revolutionary document that set the stage for a new political ideology. This manifesto and their early writings laid the foundation for what would later be known as Marxism, a theory that continues to shape our understanding of capitalism and class struggle to this day. The year 1848 marked a turning point in European history, with revolutions breaking out across the continent. This period, often referred to as the Spring of Nations, was characterized by widespread social and political upheaval. Pivotal to our understanding of Marx's ideas, these revolutions symbolized the struggle between the old feudal systems and the rising bourgeoisie class, a struggle that Marx keenly observed and analyzed. Marx's engagement with these revolutions was more than just theoretical. He was deeply involved in the political tumult of the times, contributing to the radical press and participating in the revolutionary activities. These experiences profoundly influenced his ideas, sharpening his understanding of class struggle and the dynamics of revolutionary change. Out of this cauldron of change, Marx's most profound work was born, Das Kapital. This groundbreaking text, first published in 1867, was a detailed critique of capitalism as an economic system. Das Kapital was not merely an economic treatise, it was a radical critique of the capitalist mode of production and its inherent contradictions. In Das Kapital, Marx introduced the concept of surplus value. He argued that the value of a commodity was determined by the amount of socially necessary labor time required to produce it. However, workers were paid less than the value they created, with the difference being appropriated by the capitalist as profit. This surplus value, Marx argued, was the source of exploitation under capitalism. Marx also delved into the alienation experienced by workers under capitalism. He proposed that the capitalist system estranged workers from their labor, the products they created, their own human potential, and their fellow workers. This alienation was a direct result of the capitalist mode of production, where labor was reduced to a commodity and human relationships were mediated through the market. Das Kapital offered an in-depth critique of capitalism, laying the groundwork for future Marxist thought. In its pages, Marx not only illuminated the inner workings of the capitalist system, but also envisioned a new world, free from exploitation and alienation. This vision continues to inspire and challenge us, prompting us to question, critique, and strive for a more just and equitable society. The Paris Commune of 1871 was a significant event in the development of Marxist thought. This short-lived socialist government in France left a lasting impression on Marx. The working class, rising against the elite, seized control of the city, and for 2 months, they attempted to restructure society based on principles of equality and cooperation. Marx saw this as a glimpse into the potential of a proletarian revolution. His analysis of the Paris Commune, presented in his work The Civil War in France, showed Marx's admiration for the direct democratic nature of the Commune, viewing it as a prototype of the dictatorship of the proletariat. He celebrated it as the first instance of the working class taking political power, even though it was ultimately crushed by the French government. The Paris Commune influenced Marx's later writings, causing him to rethink some of his earlier assumptions about the state. He came to see the state not merely as a tool in the hands of the ruling class, but as an instrument of class struggle itself. This realization led to his concept of the dictatorship of the proletariat, where the working class, having overthrown the bourgeoisie, would control the state and use it to suppress any bourgeois resistance. After the Paris Commune, Marx's writings took on a more pragmatic tone. His focus shifted from theoretical discussions about capitalism to practical considerations about how to achieve and maintain a proletarian state. He examined the successes and failures of the Paris Commune in detail, drawing lessons about workers' self-government and the need for international solidarity. In his later works, such as Critique of the Gotha Program, Marx further explores the transition from capitalism to communism. He discusses the distribution of goods in a socialist society and the need for a temporary period of socialism, or the lower phase of communism, before reaching a fully communist society. Marx's later writings further refined his ideas, leading to the development of the concept of the dictatorship of the proletariat. These writings, in conjunction with his earlier works, laid the groundwork for the Marxist theory that continues to shape political and economic thought around the world. After Marx's death, his ideas continued to evolve and influence political thought. This evolution was marked by the rise of Leninism and other forms of Marxist thought. Lenin, a Russian revolutionary, expanded upon Marxist theories, giving birth to what we now know as Marxist-Leninism. He applied Marxist theories to the specific conditions of early 20th century Russia, leading to the world's first socialist state. But the story doesn't stop here. Marxism continued to flourish, branching out into numerous interpretations and adaptations. From the Frankfurt School's critical theory to Gramsci's notion of cultural hegemony and Mao's application of Marxism in agrarian societies, Marx's ideas served as fertile ground for a myriad of political and sociological theories. Now let's summarize the key points we've discussed in this video. We began with the theory of historical materialism, which posits that the economic base of a society, the mode of production, shapes its social, political, and intellectual life. This perspective was fundamental to Marx's understanding of history and societal change. We also delved into Marx's stages of history. Each stage, from primitive communism to capitalism, reflects changes in the organization of production, class relationships, and societal norms. Marx believed that the culmination of this progression would be a classless, stateless, and moneyless society, communism. A central part of our discussion was the theory of class struggle, which cast society as divided into two main classes: the bourgeoisie, or the capitalist class, and the proletariat, or the working class. Marx argued that the conflict between these classes is the engine of societal change. We then explored the concept of surplus value. This idea, central to Marx's critique of capitalism, refers to the additional value produced by workers beyond what they receive in wages. Marx asserted that capitalists extract this surplus value, transforming it into their profit. We also touched on the principle of from each according to his ability to each according to his needs, which envisions a society where resources are distributed based on individuals' needs and abilities, not their economic status or power. Lastly, we delved into Marx's theory of alienation, a critique of the dehumanizing effects of capitalist production on workers. This alienation, Marx argued, estranges workers from the product and process of their labor, their potential, and their fellow workers. Whether you agree with Marx's ideas or not, it's undeniable that his work has had a profound impact on our world. So what do you think? Is Marxism still relevant today?